عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. الحمد لله الحمد لله الحمد لله الحمد لله رب العالمين حمدا يوافي نعمه ويكافئ مزيده. آمنت بالله العظيم وكفرت بالجبت والطاغوت واستمسكت بالعروة الوثقى لا انفصام لها والله السميع العليم. Ramadan Mubarak to everybody. I hope everybody's first week of fasting came with a lot of blessings, a lot of patience, a lot of growth, inshallah, so far. My topic today is the theme of guidance. Surely Allah sent down the Quran for His remembrance, but also for us, for our guidance. And this month, better than any other month, is a time for us to focus on ourselves, to expose ourselves to ourselves. And this is no better time than in Ramadan. These are the days of mercy. To follow will be the days of seeking forgiveness. And after that will be the days of salvation.
Assalamu alaikum, sisters. I humbly request if you could not talk in the prayer area. As you can see, we have a khatra going on, so out of respect for the speaker, I would humbly request if you want to speak, please speak outside. Jazakallah khair.
So as we take this time in these days to focus really on ourselves and our relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I'd like to briefly talk about the three levels of consciousness that a Muslim can observe in themselves. Of course, we have taqwa, which is God consciousness. And I spoke about this last year, but I really want to break it down even more to our fundamental, into our own selves. In the Ramadan, we obviously are fasting from food and drink and any relations during the day. And this is something that is usually permissible. So we first have this base level consciousness. We can call it the gut level consciousness, where all the basic needs that we have, we actually are taking a break from them. We're fasting and we're abstaining from them. We're building this spiritual muscle of discipline. And beyond that, we can look into the mind level consciousness, the validation, the fear, the guilt, these different emotions that we have that are usually just going on in our head. But finally, we look towards heart consciousness, which is to be really in a tranquil state, to be in a state of tawakkul, a state of sabr, a state of deepening our level of iman. And we feel that, we probably the first day, maybe second day, we're, having to overcome some of our habits. But probably by now and during the day, when we get a chance to rest, we're really in a state of peace and a state of tranquility. That's because we don't have anything going on inside here. We have less to think about because we're really connected deeper to our hearts. And that is the whole purpose that we have in Ramadan. Allah gave us this book the same way He revealed it to previous nations in this month for guidance, to us to guide us towards Him. And the way that we can do that is by connecting deeper to our hearts. The only way we can access this is if we strive for sincerity and for righteousness. And these two things require us and our actions, our will, our ability to take steps, to not just let the days come and then to pass, hunger, thirst, and then I stuff myself for iftar. Ask yourself, where were you last year? And who are you this year? Are you a completely different person? And have you been able to accept that new inner soul work that you have done in this last year? This is the time. This is the time that it's going to slip away and then it's going to go. And the rest of the year, we're just going to, Ramadan's back again. But what really happened? What growth did we take on? And that's something that we really, really should contemplate over this weekend. Now that we have a slight break for those who are working, fasting and working, it's difficult. But now is our time to try to say, how can I reach that light? The whole purpose of fasting, another purpose of fasting, I should say, is for us to experience, in a sense, the way that the angels are living. They are not satiated by food nor drink. They are satiated by dhikrullah. just in a state of remembrance. They have no ability to disobey. They're just in a state of remembrance. And look at us. We give up these pleasures of our favorite foods and staying hydrated during the day, and we do it. It doesn't bother us because we're in this state of Ramadan mode. And this is good, but take this as a tool, as a way for us to say, okay, what can I do outside that window? Because we really need to ascend ourselves to connect deeper with ourselves and then with Allah. And how we do that, we overcome these desires, these thoughts. And so we first have that outer layer with the gut and what we eat, and we're really cleansing ourselves. Because remember, Allah said He made us in the most perfect form. It's only us that we pollute and put these toxins in ourselves, and then we have unhealthy thinking, or we have unhealthy actions, and we're fighting, and we're arguing, and we're making assumptions about our brothers and sisters. It's only us that we do that to ourselves. So we have to remember there's this outward, and then there's this inward. And the three different types of people that Allah speaks about, the believers have to believe in both the outward and the inward. So to have this God consciousness, this deeper level of connecting with our hearts, we have to have that sincerity. And after we've recognized the truth, now we actively submit with sincerity and a desire to be righteous, to choose righteous actions, to choose the right over the wrong. And this is really an active, everyday process. It's not just about standing and our minds going, and then we're making ruku, and then we're back. It's about also during the day, that inward fast, the fast of a few things, the desires, the anger, the fear, and the thoughts. But we can also really look at that anger as something more of really arrogance, because anger is not necessarily good nor bad, because sometimes we need to express ourselves, but in a way in which we think we're better than somebody. And that's where our anger can come from. It's looking the same way as Shaitan looked at his tests of submitting. And he didn't because of arrogance. So we know that we're going to sin, but how we're going to recover and react to those sins and respond is our opinion of Allah. What opinion we have of Allah is how we react, how we come back, how quick, in which way, and in which actions. So again, this taqwa, this consciousness is linked to sincerity. How were we last year? How are we this year? Have we set a goal that we want to do, not just outwardly, I want to pray X amount of rakat, I want to do this many pages of Quran, but what about inwardly? Have we decided to give up argumentation just for the sake of arguing? Have we decided to give up gossip in the workplace? This is like the fuel of our capitalist workplace. But we as Muslims, we have to be the ones to stand out, to say this is what this religion is about. We don't talk about other people behind their back. And I even when it's true, that's the hard one. Even when it's true. To gossip, to backbite, is to talk about somebody behind their back, saying something that they would not like to hear, even if it's true. And again, we might fall short, but we have to have that good opinion of Allah. We come back and we strive again for righteousness. We don't let one mistake take us into impulsiveness or heedlessness. So this idea that we give up food, we give up drink, now we start to think, okay, what can I give up in my head? What is distracting me from really connecting deeper with Allah? What excuses are implanted in me that I have these fears? I need to make more money. I need to eat X amount of food to survive. I need to sleep X amount of hours. How can we say, I want to suspend all those analysis, all that extra thinking that we do in this month, or in general, in this month, how can I say, okay, what does my heart say? I went the whole day, had a good day. Now let me sit for 5 minutes and just reflect on what happened. And in that reflection, okay, these are the mistakes I made in my inward fast. I gave up food and drink, but I still got into the water cooler talk. I still took that call from a colleague working from home and let them rant about our other colleague that we work with every day, side by side, because that's just what we do. What about next time I'm going to tell that colleague, hey, look, just this 1 month, I'm going to give it up. But let's talk after the month. But at least right now, I just want to give it up. That's where we need to evaluate ourselves year after year, day after day in Ramadan to say, how are we ascending? Allah even says, in Quran, He says, and it's not one of the mushabihat, it's not one of those that are up for interpretation. Just eat and drink, but not to excess. Allah loves those who do not go to excess. So this is something that Allah loves of His servant. And Allah is so generous. Allah is so generous. The fact that He even gave us this month for this opportunity, let's take advantage of it. Let's remember our akhirah. Let's remember our balance. I was sitting in Medina with some of the Ahl Sufa, the people, that stay in the mosque. They're there from usually Dhuhr to Isha every day. I was sitting with them. It was one of the most amazing experiences to have to sit with them. Such a blessing, honestly. I didn't know how it came to be, but I was all of a sudden sitting with them and just seeing the way that they lived. And they were just sitting there fasting one day, and all of a sudden the food's just coming to them. They didn't stand up and look for it. They didn't ask anybody, and food's just coming to them. So that's like a level of tawakkul I've never seen in my life. The one brother, he reads a whole khatam of the Quran every day. 5 hours, he said, it take him. We said, how is that possible? He said, Isra Miraj, how many seconds was that? So this idea that there's people living like this, what can we do? What is our balance here in the Western world, in New Jersey, in the workplaces that we are? How can we align better with this guidance that Allah has sent for us? Because we know all the examples of what we don't want to become. And we know the examples of who we want to become. So we have to align ourselves more with those people. We have to be those believers that Allah describes in the Quran. We have to ascend our fears, our anger, our desires for the world, and just use this time as that measuring stick to say, how can I further follow this guidance, to live a purposeful, God-centric life full of responsibility and strength, and how can I cultivate that in my day-to-day life? Remember, Islam is not an identity, it's a way of life. Our ego is an identity, our nafs is an identity that we can use as we need, but we need to connect deeper with Allah, and we find that by connecting deeper in our own hearts. When we take those steps, when we change one thing, and we don't just make it about the outward actions. Yeah, every year I pray my 8 rakat tarawih, and again, you need to gauge where you're at. You need to discern for yourself as an individual where you're at. What is the one thing you want to work on that really is going to elevate your character? And I'll finish with this. There was this Netflix series about the centenarians, the people that live hundreds of years, and I had somebody talk to me about this show. So I watched the first episode. It was fascinating, these cultures that have learned these things through tradition and ancestry, etc., of how to live long lives. And at the end of the first episode, I think there's a handful more episodes, I just said, this is all Islam. Why do we keep looking further outside for all these other examples when we just don't live what we're taught? We haven't fallen into finding and following the guidance that Allah has given us, from contentment to hopefulness to optimism, to having this enthusiasm with our faith and a joy and empowerment of freedom that really is supposed to come from this level of submission that Allah calls us to in this way of life that we're supposed to live. I pray everybody's been having a blessed Ramadan. If not, may Allah increase everybody's Ramadan, keep them steadfast with istiqamah, with success, with strength, with determination to better themselves. I pray everybody is not following into any of the pitfalls that shaitan left in our lives, and is not finding boredom or restlessness in this month, but is finding a time to find the light of this month, find the light of Islam, and really connect with that light, because it's truly there. And inshallah, by the will of Allah, may Allah bless you all in this month and really help you all ascend in your degrees of consciousness towards Allah. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Assalamu alaikum.